You had something that you wanted to say, and then it was you.
Yeah, I was just saying in terms of this, I don't think it's for a lot of people the pill situation. I think it's an internal judgment because especially of our generation when we have so much information and yet is literally what's and also the idea of how you came about it. If I got it from COVID, I hear the stigma, but it's not anywhere closer because how about soon I was in the grocery store, but to look my brother or my father or my mother and I'm like, yeah, I was having sex with no condom. It's already like now where it's multiple damnations that are taking place. So that's generally where I feel like even now I take regular HIV tests. But the fear that comes in is not because I don't think I'm going to die or I can't live with it. I've got many friends who have HIV. It's because now I have to be like, it's almost like, embarrassed because cancer. So, and that's something that I want to understand is how do we unlearn that? Yeah, how do we switch that?
Yes, you've touched on something very beautiful. Ne? Let's go back to the campaigns that we were running back in the day. Ne? One of them was abstain, be faithful, or condomize. Right? Now, in the true essence of that particular campaign, is that if you abstain and you're faithful, you use a condom, you're good. You fall outside of that bracket, you're a rubbish person. Do you understand?
What about those that were born with it?
Exactly. So there are people that were born with HIV. There are people that were violated and they contracted HIV.
And also, even if you're a sex worker and you got it, and then why must there be this? You must be a model white person, and then if you get HIV, then there's compassion.
Now you also touch on something else. We ran campaigns that said people that are most likely to get HIV are gay people. At one point, you know that HIV was called GRID?
Yes.
Gay-related immune deficiency. Okay? It was, and we ran campaigns that said people that are most likely to get HIV are gay people, people who are promiscuous, who have multiple partners, prostitutes. Sex work. So the moment that...
But they were not called.
They were called prostitutes then.
Yeah. So the moment that means,
there's a language for now.
Yeah, no, into a manje,
I thought you were talking about the campaign.
No, then.
Oh.
So now, I make one mistake one night because the reason why we can't talk about it is because
it's not even a mistake, a decision.
Like when you were like, oh, his eyes.
Yeah.
No, it's his ass.
His ass or whatever it is, right? And now you contract HIV, and immediately when you go out to the world boxes you.
Absolutely.
And puts you in a box where you're like, I don't belong here. And again, to what you touched on, the fact that this thing is predominantly contracted through sexual activities. Like, how many of you talk about sex with your spouses? Exactly. We don't have, because Lale, you as a woman and you say, Lale, this is how I like it.
Where did you learn that? Where did you learn that?
Do you understand? Yeah. So it's those kind of things where there's so much unlearning that needs to happen. And we all need to change as the community and not just the people that are living with HIV. I think that also there's one thing that I think my twin brother generally says is sometimes the biggest problem is not the person who's living with HIV. Because the moment you find out you're living with HIV, you sort of empower yourself.
Yes.
So that you understand. The problem are the people who are around you who haven't gone through the journey of empowerment that you've gone through. Because then when you put yourself out there, they are the same people that abakufaka ama-labels on our understand. So we all need to change. We all need to change.
And Bafo, I mean, if sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was actually going to make exactly the same point around the fact that the stigma may come from the notion that it's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that takes part in a sexual act.
Yes.
You are that person.
So that self-infliction makes it look like, I'd rather have high blood pressure because
Yeah.
it's not self-inflicted. So
Absolutely.
it's exactly
Nale
the
is
same point.
self-inflicted.
So, but now, and whenever we talk about, I think you will notice, you speak about self-inflicted, right? We also need to understand that we as people that are living with HIV also self-stigmatize. We do it all the time, where we preempt what the world and the people that we love will do or say when we tell them that we're living with HIV. Ne? And people ask me this question all the time. Thula, have you ever experienced a stigma? And I'm like, no, never. Right? Now, sometimes some people see me and they're like, yeah, the HIV guy. I'm like, yeah. Well, there's more to me than HIV. But I take it. It's who I am. Hey, the HIV guy. So there probably has been many instances where someone has tried to levy stigma on me, right? But because of who I am, I'm like, okay, Katlego, let's engage. That rubbish statement, where does it come from? For me, whenever people say things, it triggers, let's have a conversation. Let me understand where these things that you're saying, where they come from, and let's engage on them, and let me help you. Let me fix it in a manner that when you walk away from this conversation, no one else needs to be experienced. So, again, I think we want to end stigma. We need to be at a point where even if it comes our direction, it is not stigma, but an opportunity for us to engage.
Yes.
Sure.
You said you've been married, you're married, and you guys have children. Maybe let's have the conversation around viral load suppression.
100%.
Because that's not the conversation we're having right now, but I think
It's an important one, yeah.
Yes.
I think people need to understand you can have a full life and have unprotected sex, and not saying one should, but you can if that's what you want. And can we have that conversation about what ARVs
what ARVs actually do
now?
Yeah. So whenever I take that pill, right, I don't even think about it because I understand the benefit, right? And remember, I think when I started ARVs, it was, luckily I'm on medical aid, okay. I didn't go to Ikole Zabelung, but I've made it in life. Yeah, discovery. Yeah, even though I don't like discovery, because 2 years ago they repudiated the claim Yami Moto, so but I'm still with them.
We all don't like them.
Yeah. So when I started, you had to have a CD4 count of 350 before. I opted. I said, what? There is a pill that if I take it will eliminate almost over 95% of this virus, and then whatever the leftover will not affect me. I said to my doctor, I'm like, hey man, put me on this pill. The doctor is like, you don't have to. I'm like, okay, I want to.
Yes.
So I started ARVs because of that. So and it brings me to, so my wife and I, because I'm on ARVs and I have reached a point where I am undetectable. And in the true sense of being undetectable in the past I've done those prick tests,
And it didn't come.
right? Well, it has evolved now. And this nurse says to me, I've got a video, it's on my social platforms, and this nurse says to me, Mr. Mkhize, good news, you're HIV negative.
Oh.
I'm like, no, I'm undetectable. You know? So I am, even if I wanted to give it to my wife, it's physically impossible for me to pass it on to my wife because it has been mostly eliminated out of my system. Because it has been mostly eliminated out of my system, it will not affect me or impact me in any way, shape, or form.
That's
But
probably
if you
why
stop taking the pills,
No, I mean,
no,
yeah, of course,
we're
yes.
speaking education.
Yeah. Of course, if you stop taking the pill, then okay. So
okay.
it is that.
There's a question there at the back, and then there's gentlemen.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to you that it's not so much a question as much as it's a comment and a thank you. Thank you to you for sharing your story and for doing the work that you do. Because of cool.